Welcome. All right, gotta get people loading in here. Guys, super excited today. Look who's here. My gorgeous wife. All right, so today with Momentum, I'm gonna give it a few more minutes before we get started, guys. But if you haven't seen Morrow Momentum before, what we are doing is we're trying to create a place, a place. We're trying to create an environment for yourself where you can fill your own cup, okay? Where you can feel so excited about who you are that if you can imagine filling up a cup so it's overflowing, the water will pour everywhere, and essentially you're free. Why? Because if you know us, what do? We spend a lot of time, everybody comes to us because of relationships. We saved our marriage from the depth of hell. It was abusive, it was toxic, there's narcissism. I mean, like it's just about as bad as it gets. And so today I thought it might be fun to address questions with you guys. And I just have to change my Zoom here. I think I might have loaded up the wrong room. I did. That's why nobody's on yet. Here we go. That makes more sense. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Sometimes if you know
Recording in progress.
Technology gets me from time to time.
This is one imperfection.
Yeah. She's cute, isn't she?
I'm cute.
You got that right. All right. So now everybody's going to start loading in here. Guys, we had some noise this week. We had some noise from couples. All right. If you guys know, again, you come to us because of relationship. And this whole project, Momentum, filling your own cup, could create some noise. And the noise is going to come from potentially your partner. And we've talked a lot about other people, and we haven't seen a lot of other people. In fact, the work that you guys are doing right now, I'm so freaking proud of you guys. You're getting a lot of wonderful feedback from people that are inspired by you, which is the point. That starts to fill your cup. You feel good. You're doing a great thing. Some of the journeys, I just had a wonderful call with Dave, my man Dave, yesterday. I'm so proud and inspired just by him.
High five, Dave.
So I got off the phone with you yesterday, Dave. I came upstairs and I said to Kathryn,
Did you do the prayer five?
That guy.
Did you do the prayer five?
Oh,
yeah. There we go. Love that.
And so many of you guys are doing the same wonderful thing. And I'm just so proud of each and every one of you. I wanted to go because we had Kathryn today. I thought it'd be fun today to address a little bit of the relationship side with you guys, with your questions. So what some of that noise might look like. And some of it could be fear. You know, some of you, for example, are not speaking to your partner right now. You're separated. So some of it could just be fear in what we're doing with posting, what that noise will look like. And some of you are already receiving some noise from your partner. We saw that this week. So why don't you guys, looks like it's a small group today. Why don't you guys go ahead and ask your questions? And I'm going to open this up too. If you're watching on a live, we'll try to watch these questions come in as well and see if we can help you guys a little bit as well. Okay. So
why don't we do this?
Okay.
What is this? TikTok and Instagram?
This is Instagram. This was TikTok and
Facebook. So
YouTube.
if you're on Instagram or TikTok, why don't you follow us? What page is it?
Oh yeah, you search Cass Morrow Marriage
on Facebook.
On Facebook, and then it'd be the easiest. We could
That's
just do
where
comments
it's not easiest. That's what we're going to do. We're going to answer your questions on Facebook.
Okay, fair deal. Awesome. Okay, so all of that being said, let's get into it, guys. Where are we at? For example, Samantha, would you like to talk a little bit? Kathryn's got some experience when it comes to the alcohol abuse that I had. What could happen if I got mad if she said something about my drinking? That actually happened. So would you like to address some of these questions?
Yeah, Samantha, nice to meet you.
That's nice to meet you too, Kathryn. Not really sure where to start. I mean, when I get home, he's knee deep into a case of beer.
How many
And
beers?
then, I don't know.
How many beers is that for you?
Attitude. Usually by the time I get home, it's probably about 12 that he's had.
12. And what is how many does he drink total?
At least 12 to 24.
Okay.
A night.
So if his average is 12 to 24, one thing that I want to, when my husband stops, I can't focus when the screens are going back and forth. I'll wait for you to bring it back to the people. Just 1 second, Samantha. I need to be able to see Samantha. Right now I'm looking at myself. It doesn't work for me. Okay, there's Samantha.
Sorry.
Okay. So one thing that I want you to think of as a win, and you might not have this win yet, but this is something I want you to keep in the back of your mind. If he drinks 12 to 24 and that's his average, he's almost sober at 12. Okay. If he drinks 12 to 24, there's something in your body called, oh man, it's been a while. It's something dehydrogenase. I can't remember. The more you drink, the more your body is going to process. It's the same with taking any sort of drug. The more you do, the more you need to experience anything that actually makes you feel any sort of high or inebriation. Okay. So when you get home and he's had 12, if he always has at least 12, then he's probably just mildly intoxicated at 12. Depending on how long he's been doing that. If he doubles it and he's at 24, he's probably going to be sloppy. Maybe he's calling you names. Maybe he's doing all of these things. So what I want you to watch for, and this might not be your jam right now. It might not be your life right now, but I work with clients who normally their husbands will drink, let's say 12 to 24. He used to drink 12 to 24 beer, remember, way back in the very beginning. And if your husband, when your husband decides to get sober, if he decides to get sober, I will tell you right now that if he only has 6 beer, that is a huge win. If you ever get to the point where, right? Okay. So if you get home, so tell me a little bit about the alcoholism, because I feel when you say that you're on the same page as me with the 6 beers is sobriety. So tell me, I know I haven't been on all the calls. Tell me what that looks like. If you get home and he has 12, does that mean that he's going to drink another 12? Does that mean that he's done? Give me a little bit of background.
No, he's going to drink another 12. And he drinks them so fast. I mean, he drinks it like it's water. It's like chugs them.
Okay. And when he drinks 24,
so I mean,
where is he when he drinks 24 beer? I'm not excusing it, by the way. I'm just normalizing this to a point that you need it normalized, because you don't have the capacity to change this. We need to find a way for you to be able to accept it, not condone it, not approve of it, but accept it and figure out how you are going to still live together, how you are still going to connect with him through that. So what is he like when he drinks 24? Is 24 his max?
No. He's drank way more than that. He's put away a 30-pack a night before. So I am surprised he's still walking. He a lot of times just like attack me. Just he might get something stuck in his head or make something up or something I said, or we had a little argument, but he always brings it back up. And then we'll like verbally corner me until I start the defensiveness thing and I come out swinging verbally.
Okay. So when he attacks you and you get defensive, are you getting defensive because it's not true, or are you getting defensive because you know that he's attacking you? Because those are two different things.
I know he's attacking me. And he'll take something maybe I said and then turn it, like twist it around and make me look like a psycho.
Okay. Do you know the difference
between... Because what he's saying, I know it's not true.
Okay. Is there a shred of truth in there, though?
Maybe just a shred.
Okay.
A lot of times it's like he says I don't support him for a certain situation we have with the city, but he just took control of the whole thing and did it.
Okay. So your thoughts are valid. When he is in that state, nothing really is going to be conveyed to him that's going to count.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yeah,
okay. So what I want you to focus on, and this is whether he's drunk or whether he's not drunk. So for any of you, especially women that are listening, when your husband attacks you, now women are less likely to attack first. Okay. So that's why I'm speaking to women right now. When you are attacked, I want you to think about that shred of truth. So Samantha, you said maybe a shred. Obviously, he's maybe more at fault than you, but there's a shred of truth with what he's saying. You agree with that, right? So what you're going to do in that moment, rather than getting defensive, and you have to decide where that line is, because if you get defensive, it's going to fuel him more. If you say, which is what I'm going to recommend, you're going to take responsibility for that shred. You don't take responsibility for anything that's not yours. But if you say to him, you're right, honey, or whatever you call him, you're right, babe, you're right, honey, you're right. Hopefully it's a nice name that you're going to call him, no matter what's going on in your head. Okay. You still use your nice pet name. You're right, honey. I did do X, Y, Z. You don't admit to the big convoluted cognitive distortion that he's putting on you, especially if he's drunk and everything is more sensitive. You're more sensitive when you drink too much, right?
Yeah.
So he might be more sensitive. The insecurities come out, the past comes out, the old trauma from childhood comes out. You're not going to address any of that. You're just going to say, you're right, honey. I did that. That was really shitty of me. Stop talking after that. Stop talking. You admit to what you did. And he said, yeah, and then he might jump in. He might not know what to do because it's the first time you've done this. Or he might be like, yeah, and you did this, and you did that, and you did this. Odds of him doing that when he's drunk?
That's what I used to do.
Pretty high. Yeah. And I didn't have these skills back then. If I could have done this a long time ago, it wouldn't have taken us 6 years to save our marriage. But he goes in, you just listen and you're like, oh, that is really frustrating. I'm sorry. Stop talking. You don't need to say, but I didn't do that. Because in his mind, he's having, whether it's a cognitive distortion, a delusion, a drunken inferiority complex, which if you are a strong woman, your husband probably has an inferiority complex. He thinks you think you're better than he is. You probably don't think you're better than he is, but he thinks you think that because of the way you defend yourself. You need to learn to defend yourself in a different way. And you can defend yourself. And when I say that, I don't want you to ever get defensive, but you can say things like, this is my classic line. We both know that's not true. I see Leah. Leah's been using that. We both know that's not true. Men, you can use that too. If your wife says something that you know is not true, you don't argue. You just say, we both know that's not true. If that reality is not real, you don't say, that's not true. You're lying. You just say, we both know that's not true. That is the line you can use no matter how crazy your spouse is, no matter how crazy you are. You say, because if you're on this call, you're crazy too. We're all crazy. We've all had our moments. We're all wrong. We're all right. And we're all wrong. We both know that's not true. Period. There's no arguing because you cannot rationalize the irrational. You cannot argue with crazy. You can't make logical something that's illogical. You can't. Or you'll go blue in the face and you are going to lose because that person is going to get crazier. And what happens when they get crazier? You get crazier.
On the crazy train.
Then you're driving the crazy train because now you feel like you need to be more crazy because in order for them to hear you, you need to be crazy.
So now what I want you to think of with momentum is a little bit different because you've been trying to wrap your head around inspiring people in your situation right now. Okay.
Right.
So take these tools that Kathryn's giving you and see if you can just help the situation move a little differently, a different direction. Okay. So if he's still on the crazy train, you're just not going to jump on with him. That's her expression. Okay. So then use momentum differently. Start to show him what he's missing with your kids, with you, with the things that you're adding and subtracting that are moving you forward. But keep in mind what she just talked about with the inferiority complex. Okay. Mostly he's coping right now. That's really what he's doing. Right. However he's dealing, he's just drinking and he's doing his thing. So don't support it. Don't deny it. Just do what you can do and add and subtract good things that will promote a healthy lifestyle, for example. Okay. And then that inspiration will give you an opportunity to fill your cup, your kids. You'll start feeling with the tools that she just gave you, you start doing that with your kids even, who are probably very sensitive to everything. You'll start connecting with them a little bit more. Make some of the things you add more for you guys, right? And don't forget to invite them. Don't forget to invite them along, but start living.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And if you want more of this, then contact us at the White Picket Fence Project. We have options for everybody. Right, baby?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. All right. Who's next? I'm just going to check this out.
Check Facebook.
Nothing there. Okay. All right. Come on. Give it to us. Momentum with your relationship.
Are you
What's
sure
happening?
if you go over it, you don't have to click on it to see if it actually populates?
No.
No? Okay. You're not sure? No. Okay. You're right.
She said somebody's wrong all the time, but nope, not this guy. Not this guy. All right, Michael, welcome. Michael, I don't know if we spoke yet. Oh, you're muted, dude. Just press the screen and then tap the microphone for me.
Hey, you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hey, me and you spoke a couple of weeks ago before you started this.
Okay.
Long story short, been 3.5 months sober now.
Yay.
This is ended everything on Christmas. Long story short, done the whole thing with going through all the changes, all the things I needed to do. What I'm realizing now is she says, it's like you've literally done everything you needed to do, but it's kind of just like the damage is done, and it's just difficult getting her to get past the resentment of my shady behavior of the past.
Okay, so you're hearing the classic lines. You're just getting your version of it, right? Why didn't you do this X amount of years ago? I don't believe the changes. They're not real. I'm not going to fall for this again. There's a whole bunch. They're just the classic lines that we all kind of gravitate to when we're fighting, resentful, and just want to pull. So just recognize that it's real. She doesn't trust you. Just doesn't believe you. Things like the drinking in the chat you mentioned about 3.5 months ago, you were drinking a lot like that. So things like that make it hard for Samantha, to trust if you stop drinking, right? You guys all heard about my narcissistic relapse drinking. The reason why it was different was because I'd made all these other changes, okay? That wasn't normal behavior for me anymore, number one. Number two, the big picture has changed with who I am as a man, with our marriage, with the trajectory of what I do with work and why I do what I do, And so all of that supports a healthy, safe, trusting environment. So that's your goal. I know that you're not in my reset right now, but if you think about even using momentum right now, okay, as a man who's adding and subtracting things that are not good for you or adding things that are good for you, right? Did I say add things that are not good for you?
You said adding or subtracting because you were combining it.
Sorry, thank you. So you're taking away those things that are bad. Booze is one of them. But I like to remind people, things like that, that's like when you stop yelling. You're typically saying, well, I don't get it. I stopped drinking, or I stopped yelling, or I stopped shutting down. But you're just providing baseline normal. You're not providing anything that's spectacular. So if there's the water under the bridge that you're describing, okay, you need to be elevated higher if you want her to accept and love the new you, the opportunity for the new future. So right now, focus on things like with Kathryn. You can practice the exact same attitude with her, right? You validate her emotion, but not her behavior, right? So she can say she doesn't trust you, but she can't kick you in the balls when she does it. Okay, makes sense? And you just understand and appreciate that. And then start thinking about using momentum in ways where you're, what does it look like? Is it like, well, you can read this book and you're sharing that with people and inspiring people? You certainly have a story. If you drank that heavy 3.5 months ago, there's a lot of differences right now. You're not so groggy in the morning. You're not so foggy. You're not so short. You probably have a better relationship with the kids right now. You're probably not as defensive with her right now. Express that with momentum and inspire some others. It'll help you in two ways. One, by helping the other people, she's gonna have a better you because you'll feel better with your cup full. Getting more people to stop drinking like that, even if you got them to 6 beer, like she was just saying. Two, the people in your life are going to see this, and that's the noise, right? She's probably going to come at you even harder, right? Be like some of the wives that we talked about yesterday, like, oh, you're just doing this to manipulate me, but no, if you truly do want people to stop drinking because you see these benefits, that's not manipulation. It just seems like it to her right now. Okay? Understand her and validate that again. Okay?
One thing is, she's actually said, she's like, no, I see that you've done everything you need to do. You've become a perfect man, but I don't want to continue with this anymore.
That's okay. So she might not. Yeah. She might not. Everybody goes through these highs and lows. When you're resentful, you're in a low. Like, I'll tell you something right now. Yeah. Let's just say you're in the program and you rise up and you start to look down on her because she's not growing. She's still resentful. And I would say men would call that bitchy, right? She might even have her own realities that need to be checked. You did this to me. You did this to me. You did this to me. But it's just different perspectives. That might not be good enough for you, actually. Right? Yeah. So that's why you focus on you right now. Because if you actually do rise up, Michael, you're not going to be contemptuous. You're not going to care that she's maybe saying accusations that you feel are not true. Or she's maybe manipulating you a little bit. She's the one gaslighting. What's going on? But you're not going to be angry because you just understand who you are as a person. Kathryn, when she's describing that to Samantha, is going like, if I would have learned that years ago, it would have changed everything. That same man can change everything for your wife right now. But you have to start somewhere. Yep. Okay. As long as she's in a low, She's going to feel low. And low means I don't believe you. I don't trust you. There can never be peace restored. I'm never going to be attracted to you or in love with you again. I'm done. I'm checked out. I want a separation. I want a divorce. You know, we just did a podcast and fused Kathryn, but I tell guys, get in her face without invading her space. Of course she's going to say you're moving in our boundaries. She just told you it's too little too late. But that's structure for divorce. Do you want a divorce, Michael?
Hell no.
So you show her the fucking men and the future that she deserves, that you deserve, your kids deserve, that the world needs to see. Okay?
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Besides the drinking, do you have anything in particular that you think that you could help people with? That would help your journey as well?
Yeah, I tell people, at least I'm not going to be on a soapbox about it, but when you want to stop drinking, you kind of have to hit rock bottom and get that kick in your ass. And, you know, you realize the only way out, you gotta look up and just start fucking climbing. You know, there's, you have to want to do it for yourself. Nobody can make you do it.
I'm going to challenge you to get on a soapbox, dude. I'm on a motherfucking high soapbox because I'm proud of what I've accomplished and who I am. And that is the way I can deliver a message that actually stops somebody and makes them want it. That point that you just made is because you're an authority now. And you become that authority because time behind you, 3.5 months is good. Does that mean people are going to judge you? It's only 3.5 months. You'll have whatever, we'll see. What are you doing with that time, with that new energy? How are you handling yourself as a man? Just as long as you're going up, dude, you're an authority. That's it. Because you know how many people are not telling the truth about how much they actually drink? Almost everybody.
I got a little bummed out when I was listening to Samantha talk, and she was like, oh, you know, I see him. She comes home from, you know, whatever she's got going on, and he's like already halfway through the case. And literally that was me. I was killing probably about a 30 rack of Yinglings a night. Like, pretty disgusting.
That's a piece of content. That's a piece of content for you right there. I listened to a woman talk about her husband drinking 12 to 24 beer. I was that man. Like,
you don't realize you're hurting people around you, you know?
That's another piece of content. When you drink as much as I drank, I just hurt everybody I cared about. You make them want to want. Okay?
Appreciate it, man.
You got it.
Serenity. Your comment. I just want to address that. So yes, you're right. Removing the alcohol is sometimes only half of the equation because there's the personality things, but oftentimes the situation is not as extreme as what you've been through. And so from your perspective, yes, there's extreme addiction and there's extreme personality, mental health issues. It doesn't always go hand in hand. Now, most of the time when someone has an issue, you call it being comorbid. So there's a comorbidity. So alcoholism and addiction is something that's comorbid, often comorbid with something like the cluster B personality traits. So narcissism, borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, bipolar. Usually there is some sort of comorbidity, but alcohol on its own, I just want to be really clear about anybody watching, alcohol on its own can be really detrimental. It doesn't mean because you drink too much, it doesn't mean that you have a comorbidity. But if you have a comorbidity, like Serenity pointed out, it's important to address both. You can't expect to address the alcohol and not address the narcissism, not address the bipolar, not address the depression. You have to address both. But alcoholism can and does present on its own.
So this is really important to understand. See, most of us think that alcohol brings out the truth, the real person, right? I personally believe alcohol brings out, or a lot of substances, right? A lot of ways you cope. It brings out the part of you that hasn't done the work. Okay.
Brings out the trauma. It doesn't necessarily bring out who you are and who you're supposed to be, but it does bring out the traumatic things that happened to you. It does bring out the expression of anger because of the traumatic things that happened to you. Yes, it removes inhibitions, but we can all agree, probably most of us have had, maybe not all of us, I shouldn't say that. A lot of us have had too much to drink and have done things and said things that you didn't mean. It's not anything that you would ever do or say. It's not bringing out who you are. It's bringing out the trauma. It's bringing out the pieces of your past that you haven't addressed, the trauma. It exemplifies the comorbidity. So if you're depressed and you drink alcohol, it doesn't fix it. You think you're coping, but it brings out more depression. If you're bipolar and you drink alcohol, what happens? Maybe when you're manic, it makes you more manic and you spend all of that money. Maybe you're a narcissist, and when you drink, it brings out those narcissistic characteristics that you normally could keep at bay. So yes, it can exemplify things, but it can also bring out the things that just have not been addressed. We have a bit of a difference of opinion, us versus the rest of the world. I'm not naive enough to think that we're the only people that have recognized this, but I'm confident enough in us to know that when we recognize something, we state it to be true because we've been through it. We've worked with 4,000 people. That's enough of a case study, if you want to call it that, to know that this is something that's real. It's real life. So when your partner accuses you, well, this is just something that you think, this is something real, it just removed your inhibitions. Yeah, it did remove your inhibitions, but that doesn't mean that something that you said was true. So whoever's struggling with alcohol, there was Michael that used to struggle with alcohol. Your wife is holding things against you that you said because she thinks you think they're true, because that's what society tells you. We struggled with that. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that that's what's real. He had a narcissistic relapse a few weeks ago because he was drinking. All the things he said, he called me a narcissist. I think you called me a psychopath.
I think I did.
He doesn't believe that. Nobody that knows me thinks I'm a psychopath or a narcissist or a sociopath or any of those things. Including him. But in his narcissistic relapse, the alcohol allowed him the atmosphere to be able to tell me I'm a psychopath. So next time your husband or wife says something to you, don't take it as truth. And I'm not talking alcohol. I'm talking alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, crystal meth, anything.
I'm going to even go as far as say anyway you cope. Like I know guys who sabotage and get, I work with guys who sabotage and get hookers because they need to bring themselves down because it's been going too well.
A hooker gives you the same release of chemicals in your body as cocaine, crystal meth. Now alcohol is different because it's a depressant, and the other things are going to be a stimulant. Mm-hmm. Getting a hooker and doing some of the stimulant drugs, you're not getting a hooker. That's not a. If you get, hopefully you've never had a hooker, but you know what I mean. Like there's a difference between a depressant and a stimulant. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about the way that you're coping, whether you're using porn, you're buying hookers, you're doing any of these mind altering substances, it's all the same. You need to identify what that's doing for you, what that's doing again. To fight against you. And then if you have a partner that's doing those things, you need to identify that as well. Does that make sense to you guys? Are you guys understanding that?
And then you have to recognize as well that if your partner, like Sam, or your wife, Michael, to you, like if you guys can have the strength in the time when your partner's having the weakness, that sucks, especially if it's such a bad thing, right? That's literally what happened. She brought all the tools the day I knocked out. The next day, I just said, I'm sorry. And we made a plan. We had a conversation. We got through it, right? So there's real power in this, but it's not fucking easy. I'm sure it wasn't fun for her.
No, it was not easy at all.
Right? So just encourage you to keep yourself in that strength, okay? Somebody just commented, Matthew, I think, on Facebook. Thanks, brother. I appreciate the words. It was, he stopped drinking, best thing he did for his marriage, and he thanked us for saving his marriage. So, awesome. Yeah. All right. Next, guys. Give us the next question. Next thing.
Can I ask you guys a question? I need to be able to see the screen now. Okay. So there's generally in marriage, there's going to be two types of people. There's the Cass and there's the Kathryn. Okay. So I want to know honestly where you think you sit. And there's a continuum, but if you're the Cass, you are struggling with maybe a mental illness. You're struggling with a personality disorder. You're struggling with
approval seeking, not feeling
insecurity.
Good enough, self-worth.
The reason you guys got together is because generally there's some sort of puzzle piece. There's some sort of yin and yang. Now, Cass and I are very similar. And so we're both similar in a lot of ways, but we still have that yin and yang where I struggle with defensiveness. I struggle with trying to prove to him that I am not the superior partner. He's the insecure, I don't think I'm secure. I'm superior, but I'm the superior because he thinks that I think that. Okay. So I want you to raise your hand. I'm looking at the screen right now. If you are the cast where you're struggling with insecurity, you're struggling with some of your personality traits that you're not really sure where you sit, you're working on those sorts of things, you're resonating with him. Can you just like wave your hand in the camera? I want to see who's who. So we've got, what's this person's name? Matt, Troy, Michael, James. Okay. And then if you're me, if you're the Kathryn, raise your hand. So we've got Leah. Oh, so hold on, guys. Keep your hands up. I just took the screen away. We've got Leah. We've got Shannon. We've got Dave. We've got Samantha. Okay. So it's the reason I asked that is because it's really important to realize who you are. When you are listening to us, when I'm coaching my women, I will coach one woman differently than I'm going to coach somebody else. When I'm coaching the men, I don't know you guys as well. But if you can figure out who you are, it's going to help you work with your partner. We do something in my program. We work with a coach who does epigenetics, and epigenetics is, I don't actually understand it enough I'm getting a head nod from, I think that's James. I don't understand it enough to teach it. That's why I bring somebody in, but it's all about personality. It's all about how your genetics play out. It's really, really cool. And so the more you can learn about yourself and recognize who you are. And of course, when I say put your hand up if you're the Kathryn, it doesn't mean you're not me. You gravitate towards that sort of part of the dynamic, and every relationship has a dynamic. There's going to be extreme and there's going to be not as extreme. So when you get to know who you are, when I say something, it resonates with you. If you have a question, ask the question. When he says something that resonates with you, ask the questions, because what we say is not cut and dry. What we say is going to guide you towards understanding how to relate to your spouse and how to take responsibility. If you gravitate towards what he's saying, taking responsibility is a lot different. When I talk to Leah, for example, about taking responsibility, Leah's a powerhouse. Leah has to step into her feminine. Leah needs to realize that she probably has emasculated or demasculated your spouse the same way I did to Cass, right? Mm-hmm. If you are a little bit more, if you are very feminine, you probably haven't emasculated your spouse. Okay, emasculated, you probably haven't emasculated your spouse. Okay, so Dave, I think you put your hand up when you're like, I'm the Kathryn. So you probably have also overpowered your wife, because I know that when you're in the mindset that I have, where you have to do things because your spouse isn't going to do it. Now, I'm talking our old relationship, because he has stepped into leadership. But in the beginning, I didn't know if I could trust him. So I stepped into leadership. I tried to overpower him. We fought, we went back and forth, depending on who your partner is. Because if you're me, Dave, and your wife might not be Cass, your wife is probably, when it's the opposite, when the man is who I am, oftentimes the wife is more of a passive, submissive person, and their perception is going to be a lot different. Samantha, did you say you gravitated towards me or Cass? Me? Okay. So you've probably emasculated your husband. So where Dave probably overpowered his wife, you have probably emasculated your husband. So recognizing who you are is really, really important. Troy, who did you say you were? And you're Cass.
We can't see your point.
Yeah. You're Cass.
And you guys got to understand that you'll step into the other role lots, right? Meaning, so let's just because we talked about you overpowering your wife, Dave, many times she probably tried to overpower, because we have to protect ourselves, right? Where defensiveness, maybe you're better at listening for a while, but then eventually you've had enough. Right? When Kathryn was talking to you earlier, Kat. Sorry, Samantha. So understand there's a hierarchy of who you are, and then you're going to start to, because you have those skills, you start gravitating towards all these different things. You're latching onto whatever you do. Then you start to cope with what you cope with, right? Now you can't lead your partner at all, because you essentially jumped on the crazy train regardless. No matter what you want. This is where you see my content that I do not believe. Where I'm like, maybe you should stop blaming your partner, or just call a fucking lawyer right now. Right? Making sense, guys? Okay. Yeah, the more you can reflect, guys, the better. The better, because no one is perfect. Definitely a cast on Facebook. All right, let's go further. Who's got something? who's struggling with their partner. Come on. Oh, yeah,
This
Leah.
is a special day today where we're doing the relationship Q&A because normally you guys are doing more of the momentum stuff, but we're doing the relationship stuff. Leah, go.
If I'd known you were doing relationship stuff exclusively, I probably wouldn't have raised my hand because ain't nobody want to hear my drama. I have just gotten my heart rate down to a normal tone. I'm not about to bring it back up, but what Kathryn said is true. I have absolutely been accused by all three of my husbands and probably by the fourth one that I haven't met yet, that I emasculate them. Part of that, I think, is that people like me that are really strong, we don't really like to be challenged either. So we pick guys that just say, okay, babe, you got it, whatever you want. And they can only do that for so long before they're miserable. And now you think that the script has flipped, but the script hasn't flipped. They've just finally gotten tired of being in your shadow. And so one of the beautiful things, and I'll just make this a commercial for Kathryn's program for those of you who aren't already part of it, is Kathryn teaches us how to step back from that, how to give our husbands the opportunities to step into their role. And yes, sometimes they fail, but you can only fail so many times before you start to win.
Yeah.
I love that.
Amen.
What's that, Cass?
He said it. He loves that. First he said, what?
I mean,
Fail. Oh,
Yeah.
it depends if you're in my program
I mean,
or not.
what I would say is like, so what I would say is that like, we all know that the only person who truly fails is the one who quits trying.
That's it.
Right? So you can either not have succeeded yet, or you could have failed. And that choice completely lies in whether you're willing to try one more thing, one more time, a different way. And I'm trying to remember that gentleman's name. Oh, he jumped, he fell off, he left. So, or maybe he didn't, he might just have a screen off. Michael, I would say this, just, Cass will teach you. I've listened to enough of his stuff to know you just got to keep showing up consistently. I am married to an addict, and we've had bouts of sobriety. We went 5.5 years with complete sobriety, and I let my guard down. I finally accepted all the changes, et cetera, and then it went away because he relapsed again. But the more you show up and just stay consistent and just let her take her own time and, maybe start playing Cass and Kathryn's podcast in the car on the road to places, or in your bathroom while you're taking a shower, or wherever it is where she might just by osmosis get to absorb a little bit of what they're saying. Maybe you'll be able to inspire her to join you on your healing journey and actually be able to heal your marriage together, because that's fun. I know that for most of us, we're the only ones on the journey of healing our marriage. And it sucks. It'd be so much more fun if we could do it together.
Oh, we wish that too. Always that one in, one out, push, pull, fuck. But it's the reality, unfortunately. It is. Until you both cross that road. And Leah's right. The only way that you can do that is if you choose, this is my path. I am not giving up. I'm going. I can't stand it when people say the expression, I've tried everything. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Now, I can acknowledge that, say you have worked very hard and we'll say you've even tried everything and your partner still leaves you. If you've tried everything, you'll know because you won't be angry. But that never happens. You'll say things like you wasted, or believe it, you wasted my time. You'll make it a statement and you'll still sound defensive. Which means you still haven't figured it out, because that's the fucking eroding wall that we didn't finish eroding. That wall that's so thick between you. You haven't tried everything because you're still angry. You're still frustrated. You're still victimizing yourself. You're still blaming them. Sorry. Just the reality of it, Okay, yeah, so this is a real thing. And Leah brought up a really good point. So we just had a comment about, never really thought about it, but probably emasculated, which is making your man not feel like a man, ripping his manhood away from him, telling him he's not a man, okay? Here's the thing. You guys know we talk about filling our own cup. In these relationships where you build this, what you think is going to be the perfect marriage, this marriage you signed up for, you came at it with the foundation and no wall, right? That love, that validation, the time you were available, They could do no wrong. You were forgiving. You were both apologetic. Conversations were ping. You know what this was all like, okay? But almost none of us had the skills. Not just one, two didn't have the skills. We're all expected to be a man and a woman in a relationship, to know how to be married. And I can't remember if I told you guys this, but we just talked about it on our podcast, but that Love is Blind, that new season's out, and the woman getting married, is he going to be a good father? That was the question. And she said, well, yeah, he's a good provider and a good protector. Fuck, man. This is brand new show on TV, still teaching people how to look at what a good father is going to be. Well, we did an episode. I can't wait to hear it, but it's like we did it on, men. If you want to know what it's like, let's figure out what it's like wanting your wife and your wife not wanting you. Why don't we ask you what you'll think about with your daughter? Would you want any man your daughter didn't want to sleep with? Would you want her to be with him, or would you say, get the fuck off her? You might consider that rape, wouldn't you? But yet you're fucking trying to do whatever you can to get inside your wife's pants. She should submit to me. She should do her role. I provide, I protect.
It was a hard episode to film, you guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to hopefully wake some people up.
Mm-hmm.
You'd stand up for your daughter and say, get the fuck off her right now. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't want to have sex with them? You're having sex with them every day or 3 times a week. So what lessons do you want to teach? Why are you treating your wife that way?
And I want to remind you guys that everything that we film is based on what we went through. So when he talks about that, we're talking from personal experience. We're not speaking from a place of judgment, and we're not trying to invoke shame. We are trying to invoke a sense of responsibility, because probably, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5, 6 men on this call. So, and I hope so many more men listening. It's not about judging you. It's not about telling you that you're wrong. It's about inspiring a different thought, because you never thought about it that way. Because when it was happening to us, he didn't think about it that way. But we wish that he would have thought about it that way, because I am someone's daughter. I am a woman that's important. I'm a woman of value. But when you're thinking, this is what I need my needs met, she owes it to me. We've talked about this on different podcasts as well. And I have a very specific stance. I do actually owe it to him, but I owe it to him because he treats me with love and respect and tenderness. My body is his body because he loves me. When he didn't love me, my body was not his body. Biblically, I didn't have to give myself to him. Now, whether I like it or not, which I do, but whether I like it or not, my body is his body because he treats me with love and tenderness and respect and gentleness, and he shows me leadership. That is all encompassing. Does that make sense, baby?
Yeah. So I want to tie this back to where this, because we went off a bit, but so when we're worried about emasculating your man, okay, most of us do it to ourselves first. And the reason we feel it worse from her is because we already don't approve of ourselves, and the marriage relationship changed. All that love, that validation, the sex, whatever, it was all there. But because we weren't doing it right, she had no choice but to step up. We kind of talked about this on a call a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, I think, where we're talking about feminism and masculinity, right? Women rising up because men were not meeting her needs, but demanding to have their needs met. We're demanding of our wives, forcing, right? So women rose up. And now the men are fighting back. And so it's this fucking society marriage. So who's emasculating who? There's only one thing you can do if you're a man or a woman. You can be a strong-ass motherfucking man and a strong-ass motherfucking woman. You fucking choose it. That's what momentum's about. It's finding that strength to do that. That's what we go so hard on in my program, the Reset, and hers, the White Picket Fence Project. But this is a great foundation for all of you right here.
James, that takes time to heal. Yes, it did not happen overnight. He made changes years. He says 18 months because that's probably when I first started to come around, but realistically, it was years. I'm still healing every day. I love my husband. I'm attracted to my husband again, but I still have some traumatic wounds from back then. I need to work to overcome them. And the reason I want to work to overcome them is because I love my husband. I recognize what he's doing. I have to do the work. I have to do the trauma work. I have to do the self-care. I have to do the daily affirmations. I have to trust him. There's all kinds of things that I have to do. And so it took a long time for me to be able to trust. It took an even longer time for me to be able to heal. And then the healing, once it starts, I don't think it will ever stop. To be honest, you could talk to me 20 years from now and I'll still be healing. I'll still be growing to the day that I die, which hopefully isn't 20 years from now, but I'll still be doing all of the work because now that I know what is possible, he's going to be still working. And if he works, I have to chase him. So for any of you that have experienced things that we've experienced, especially most of you probably have, even there's some women on this call that I've spoken to personally, and I know that you have sexual trauma. I know that you have sexual trauma before your husband. I know that you have sexual trauma with your husband. I know that you have sexual trauma because of your own mindset. I'm not pinpointing anybody, but you know who you are with each of those pieces. You are going to need to continue to grow. Because of that, you are going to need to work on trusting. And I think it was James, right, that said it takes time to heal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Going back to your question, it takes time to heal, but it takes even more time to reconnect and to heal together. Because that's where we are, as we're healing together.
Yeah, and it's super exciting when you're healing together.
Yeah.
When you cross that bridge. And that kind of ties back to what Michael was talking about earlier. And men, you can think the exact same way. The idea of what we've been shamed for as men, right? All of my stuff, like Kathryn brought up a really good point, all of my stuff could make it look like I'm shaming you. Well, I'm just trying to grab your attention because we need what Michael talked about, you to want to fix it, to make a change. And we should all want that from our partner. If they can't be real, your friends can't be real, if you can't live past the defensiveness when somebody's presenting something that you could learn from, what could I do differently? If my wife felt like she was assaulted, oh my gosh, what did I do?
It took him years to recognize.
Because I didn't want to feel bad about myself, right?
I called him. Am I allowed to say it on camera?
Yeah.
I called him a rapist for years and he just didn't understand. And the way that I painted it was probably not in the best way because I was so angry. And anytime I presented it, I flat out said, you're a rapist, rather than saying I felt disrespected, whatever it was. And it took him years before he came to that. One thing I want to say is that when he said something about, I'm not trying to shame you, it sounds like I'm shaming you. We don't want you to feel shame and guilt, but I will say that there's a healthy level of guilt that you will feel that will inspire change. If you don't feel any guilt, if you don't feel any remorse, now we don't want to swim in it. Okay. We don't want to live in it, but you can feel a level of guilt and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I did that. Or, oh my goodness, I can't believe my husband feels like I disrespected him a lot. I didn't realize I was disrespecting him. He told me that I was disrespecting him so many times before I was like, oh my goodness, now I recognize it. I told him he was sexually abusing me. I told him he was emotional, whatever it was. Finally, the level of guilt when we were open enough to hear each other, we're like, oh my goodness, is that what she feels? Oh my goodness, is that what he feels? I'm not going to live in that guilt. I'm going to take that piece of guilt, a little bit of shame. We don't want you to feel shame, but it's human nature to feel guilt and it's human nature to feel shame. We are not perfect people. Take that feeling, act on it, and then put the feeling away, but act on it and be different. Act on it and make a change. So we don't want you to swim in it, live in it, play in it, any of those sorts of things, but feeling it is important. And you can say, I don't feel guilt. I don't feel shame. You're not an alien.
It also allows you to create the type of environment for yourself to grow. Like she was saying, further to that, meaning actually understanding, well, if you think that I hurt you, and I'm not going to give any specific example. If you think that I hurt you, I don't want that for you, right? That healthy amount. It also allows you to see the truth because of that perception thing that we always talk about. Everybody's perspective and perception is different. So in order to be a true partnership, when we talk about, describe us, the superpower couple, right? You need to be that close, that intimate with your partner. Just don't rush it. For those of you that are struggling, we have to work our way up here. But it's going to start with these kinds of reflections. I love where this went today. It's super cool. Okay, let me just see.
Checking Facebook.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh, there's lots of comments there. All right, here we go.
Okay, you can't control a narcissist's loyalty. Well, you can't control anyone's loyalty. Don't get caught up in the social media banter. You know, Lucy, like at the end of the day, you can be loyal and use that example. But people, that's a whole other topic. Like we can go nuts on this.
And the biggest thing is, Lucy, if like, do you want to get divorced or do you want to stay together?
Oh, wait, stop. It's a spammer trying to spam somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, find them on Instagram.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. I love that. Teaching my son-in-law what I've learned from you because I want my daughter to have the best relationship possible. Guys, always. That's the whole point with momentum, is to be able to get yourself positioned to tell your story and teach people. Sure, that can be part of our story and stuff that you learn. But I want you to find everything that you can teach. Michael, I'll go back to you with the drinking, right? Supporting Samantha with what she's going through, the lessons that you're learning could inspire her and get a new way of life for the kids and also herself, for her husband, right? So I love that. Thanks.
I want to talk to Michael for a quick second. I hope you're still on, Michael.
Cheers.
I work with, I know, but I hope he's actually still on because his photo wasn't there, or his video. I hope that your wife will start to consider the changes that you've made. And the reason that I say that is because I work with women who are the wives of addicts, whether that's porn, sex addiction, drugs, or alcohol. And most of the time when I'm working with one of the wives, the husband is in active addiction and is not anywhere near where you are. I just pray that your wife will accept the changes that you've made because it's huge. I know right now you feel like it's not enough. I know you feel like it's too little too late, and it might be. But the reality is that you're doing more than a lot of people would, more than a lot of husbands would. And you're even here talking about how you want your wife to be affected positively. So I just really pray that your wife will have clarity on what's happening and open her eyes and accept you for the new man that you're being. Because I speak from experience when I say that my husband was a monster. A monster. That's a pretty big word, right? And he's not anymore. And so when you choose to be different and your wife does not accept you, my heart goes out to you. I would love to work with each and every one of your wives who's not accepting you, because I also believe that I'm anointed to be able to help these extreme situations. And when you are the one that's making the changes, I just really, we go to bat spiritually for all of you. We pray for each and every one of you that gets on our calls. I pray for each and every wife in my program. I pray for each and every wife in the men's program, each and every man. We are literally, when I say go to bat spiritually, visualize that. I am in the spiritual realm beating off demons and entities on your behalf. It's exhausting, but we do it. And so when I talk about your wife, I really pray that she has clarity and her eyes are opened. And if she ever wants to have a conversation with me, if she ever wants to talk about the other side of it, I'm here for her. That goes for all of your wives, by the way.
And also,
spiritual warfare, yes.
Also, if you think about it like this, Michael, your wife, just keep it simple. I mean, everybody thinks with their terrible marriage spiraling out of control, so much water under the bridge. Oh my gosh, and our minds are going fucking everywhere. Keep it simple. Right now, you know it. She just doesn't trust you. That's really what the statement means when she's saying there's too much water under the bridge. It means I don't trust you. I trust the guy that's created the pain, right? So all you have to do right now is show her what life looks like as somebody different and be consistent. So you don't have to be perfect right now. You just need to be moving forward and consistently building exactly what momentum is for. And then the idea for men and women in your situation where your partner's checked out or separation's happening, you get to have this life force, this energy that you get to share with other people. You cannot deny the good work. You know, we had a wife yesterday say, "Oh, you're just trying to manipulate me with this momentum thing. I saw what he does with this marriage, stuff." No, you're just checked into coasting right now. If you're worried about the world knowing your baggage, you're just checked into coasting because you shouldn't be happy with where you're at because you just recognize the problem that you don't want the world to know. That's not actually the fucking issue. So simplify it, dude. Simplify it. Whatever she's telling you, she's hurting. Love her through that shit and show up consistently. Okay.
James, a lot of BS has come from the evangelical church because of the so-called faith. Yes, absolutely. It's because the word of God has been twisted to mean whatever people want it to mean, i.e., submit to your husband. Yes, you need to submit to your husband, but read the rest of it. You submit to your husband when he loves you the way Jesus loved the church. It's not confusing, but the whole submit to your husband has been bastardized. Husbands, guys, yes, your wife should submit to you, but not if you're not being the man that you were built to be. Okay? And your wife also has to be the woman that was built to be your wife. You have to love her. Now you're the leader. So whether or not she is that way, it's a little bit unfair. We don't do what's fair. We do what works. So whether it's fair or not, you still need to love her, because when you love her, she will submit to you. When you love her, she will respect you. If she's built to be emotionally dysregulated. Sorry if any women describe.
But she's also built to pour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the church, it's not about the church. It's about Jesus Christ. What does Jesus want for you? The church was built around Jesus Christ, but Jesus is the word of God. The church is not. Sometimes the church is, but we can't blame the church. We can't blame the devil. We have to look to Jesus and the word. You need to be, so this is my last thing. I'm going to get off this soapbox. You need to believe the word of God. If you have a question, if you're a Christian, you go to the word of God. You go to the Bible. And then you need to be able to discern it. And if you can't discern it, then you go to a mentor who can help you walk through it and understand it. But yes, a lot has been bastardized. Let's say, not against the purpose of Christ. We are one flesh. A man doesn't hate his own flesh. Ephesians 5, yeah.
Guys, if again, we can simplify this for you as well. Everything in life gets bastardized. Doesn't matter if we're talking about a fad diet, if we're talking about the Bible. Okay? Everything gets twisted to make you feel better about yourself, which is why everybody's so sensitive nowadays. They can't handle it. They can't hear the truth, right? Essentially, you guys have heard the story. I can't remember if I told you or not, but like we have a billboard in town that says job sex, and people are pissed going against. Why the fuck is that okay? And lingerie could be on billboards 4 billboards earlier, because parents don't want to have to tell their kids what that means. But kids are used to seeing everything because society's twisted everything already anyway. So just stop. The real lesson is they need to talk to their kids about sex, and they're too fucking ashamed and embarrassed to do it. Because the real lesson is actually deeper. They didn't know how because they don't even understand it. Because the real message is deeper because they don't have the skills to be in their own marriage. It's failing. Like, people will never go that deep because they'd rather just twist it. Oh, those perverts, Morrow marriage with sex on the billboard. Like what? Sex just stopped happening in marriage? I mean, get real. I preach that, but like it's still happening. Let's get like, come on, what the fuck? So, anyways, Dave, go, and then we got to go after this.
And
guys.
I have to say something after Dave.
Okay.
Then we can go.
Yeah, look, I just want to be really quick here. It's like you read my post this morning on the Word of God, because you know the last piece of armor that God talks about in the Bible here in Ephesians is the sword, right? And the sword is the Word of God. And even Jesus himself used the word in the desert when he was tempted by the devil, right? It is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord your God.
Yes,
right?
Amen.
It is written. And if Jesus Christ can use that and refer to the Bible as the written word, and that's what you refer to, that's good enough for me. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I love that. We actually just a couple of Sundays ago, when you refer to the word of God, it is written. You don't have to say, I think, I feel, whatever. It is written. And if it is written, it is. Do you want to say anything before I end with a more momentum celebration? Okay. So more momentum is all about following through, finding your passion, doing the things you love, showing up as your authentic self. I want to share something personal with you guys. So I'm in animal rescue. Most of you probably have heard about my love for animals. And I took a little bit of a hiatus because we had kids and I just didn't have any support to be able to save these animals. We have a little dog that we saved. And I just want to report that we just saved another dog. She just came across the Canadian border. You probably can't see her. You see a very cute girl, but she's got a 1.6 pound Chihuahua saved from, she traveled up from California. She just crossed the Canadian border. She is now in Canada. She has her forever home and she's not going to live a life of neglect or abuse. That's part of what I like to give to the world. And some of you will resonate with that and some of you won't, but
focus on the one, baby.
focus on the one. That's what we need to strive to be. You need to strive to be your authentic self. What are you giving back to the world? And then when something does happen where you have a tangible win, you celebrate it and you share it. If you don't follow, Griff's Animal Rescue Foundation is our rescue on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, see you guys.
Bye. So exciting. Oh my gosh, look at this little puppy.
1 second. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome, Matthew. See you guys.